F-Zero, the Nintendo series that everyone knows about, yet its library of games is actually pretty small. Ever since its first title on the Super Nintendo, no other racing game quite holds up to its sense of speed, design, and willingness to push the limitations of its platform. F-Zero has always kept its popularity due to Captain Falcon being in all the Super Smash Bros. Games. But if there was one F-Zero game that I would recommend to anyone, it would be F-Zero GX for the GameCube. I mean, something about this game just makes it instantly fun, no matter what kind of gamer you are. It's fast-paced, it brought a lot of new features to the series, and it has this way of truly making players feel the speed of their vehicle. It's even got its own worlds and lore, no different than any other Nintendo franchise. Racing around corners, dodging obstacles, and flying over jumps, all at breakneck speeds with beautifully detailed landscapes to match. What could be more fun? F-Zero GX is such a masterpiece that it truly deserves to be in everyone's gaming library. I give you my review of F-Zero GX. Before I can even begin to explain the masterpiece that is F-Zero GX, we gotta talk about what made the F-Zero series so popular. F-Zero, as I said, started back on Super Nintendo with the game called, well, F-Zero. It pushed the limits of the Super Nintendo with its Mode 7 3D rendered racetracks, and dang did it look good. This game set the tone for the rest of the series, as it was all about speed, speed, and more speed. I mean, there's something about making speed feel almost uncontrollable that it becomes exciting. Adding to the heart-stopping speed was the small but impactful feature in its boost system. Rather than just having boost pads, which it did have, but it wasn't really played off the same, or having a boost item of some sort, you always had a boost meter. And you can boost as long as there's juice in your meter. But there's a catch. The boost meter is also your shield gauge. When you want to make a big push for the lead, you better hope you don't hit anything and risk losing the race. High speed and high risk. This is the seamless yet game-defining formula of F-Zero. Another big feature was the fine-tuning of your racer before each race. You can either put more emphasis on acceleration and control at the cost of losing some top speed, or you can put more emphasis into your speed and you'll accelerate slower and have a hard time turning. This made every car viable and made a very naturally balanced game, which is something you don't see in most racing games. Rubber band AI. But what truly gives F-Zero its charming character is the world that it created. In the original, there was only 4 racers, but ever since F-Zero X for the N64, there's been 30 plus racers in the F-Zero games. Every single one of them having completely original designs, both them and their vehicles, and even in F-Zero GX there's a pilot profile section where you can read all their individual lore. Interestingly, every character has a personal theme song too, which I feel is a little overdone, but hey, it's actually a really interesting adage. And I mean, these songs aren't just some silly slapped together song, they are like legitimate hard rock songs. Yeah! Another small addition that did wonders for the setting in the games was the tracks. They didn't just have a name. They named the tracks with this where and what sort of title. Like it wasn't just Big Blue, it was Big Blue Drift Highway. This makes all the levels and worlds seem realistic, like they're on different planets, which inherently makes it feel more futuristic. The surroundings and backdrops also reflect this and add to the immersive high-tech look of the world. And the coolest thing about all the locations and the lore is that it's completely unneeded. And the game would still be fantastic without it. The tracks themselves were always nicely designed, and no 2 tracks were ever the same. F-Zero has all the makings to be a great racing series, and F-Zero GX was the last console title in almost 10 years. Does it really hold up so well that it doesn't even need a sequel? we gotta start out with what F-Zero GX brought new to the table. Being developed by Sega, of all people, it truly pushed not only the F-Zero franchise, but the newly made relationship between Sega and Nintendo. Along with the expected game modes like Grand Prix, Time Attack, Versus Mode, and all that jazz, one of the newly added features is the Garage Mode, where you can actually make your own custom race cars. Trust me, I'm one of those guys who loves creating stuff in video games. And I mean, it's probably half the reason why I like playing wrestling games. Creating your own anything is always cool. Now, of course, you can't go into detailed schematics and make some uniquely designed race car. You can only change 3 parts and their color, and then you can add some decals. But I mean, you can't even make a custom pilot. And I would have loved to be in this game. Considering the offline world we were in at the time, the customization is still very nice and original enough. The mode that sells this game though is the story mode. It's your basic missions, but with super detailed cutscenes. I mean, damn, they could probably make a whole TV show with these visuals and settings. They managed to make the worlds feel alive, and they gave them so much more detail than they needed considering how short the cutscenes are. There are only 9 chapters in the story mode, and all the cutscenes are really interesting and fun to watch. Each chapter plays out like a little mission or like a single race in an arcade mode, and trust me, they're not easy. The missions themselves consist of collecting capsules, quick drag races, or even escaping from an exploding building. It's actually pretty intense. Once you complete a mission, you can take it on again at higher difficulties, and this is when the game becomes so much more fun to me. The challenge is just right. Not too easy, but not absolutely impossible looking. I found myself playing for hours just trying to beat one mission on hard or very hard. When you have those, oh my god, I was so close moments are just testament to its design. Completing missions on hard unlocks parts for your garage, and beating them on very hard unlocks a new racer to use. Honestly, this level of challenge has been enough for me to keep playing the story mode. When you complete a mission, it's rewarding in itself because of that perfect level of challenge. This and the other game modes would not have been as fun if it wasn't for the perfected gameplay. That's right, we gotta talk about how F-Zero GX perfected the F-Zero framework. Its gameplay and overall game feel is what sets it apart from all other racing games. Like any racing game, you accelerate, drift around turns, and you try to win. It's pretty self-explanatory. But what makes F-Zero GX so good is the fact that it's not really a realistic racing sim, but it's not wacky enough to be a kart racer. I'd refer to it as like a realistic racing sim with its own rules. When you start boosting to get ahead, you feel like you're starting to lose control, just like you would if you were going 1,000 miles per hour. No, literally, that's what it says, and that's what the speedometer says. I mean, when you go into the POV, it's all just like... The races feel alive with 29 other racers on the track, the blistering speeds, the hairpin turns. It's just so magnificent. Having 30-man races also makes the Grand Prix mode feel like an actual Grand Prix. You are totally okay with getting 6th in a race because that's actually really freaking good, and it's still worth a lot of points. If you pay attention to who's higher than you on the ladder, you can start to calculate and strategize the best way to get first, and even adds the rival marker over the car that is leading the ladder, or it's over the car in second if you're in first. It's a nice incentive to know that if you're ahead of him, you're just that much closer to first place. You can even take out other racers, which gets you starting to think that these races are truly cutthroat. I mean, that rival marker may as well turn into a target on their head. I know that a lot of these features were in F-Zero X, but it's really not the same. Somewhere along the line, F-Zero GX just perfected it. This game goes above and beyond what is needed in a racing game. I mean, full 3D models just for the pilots? Is that really needed? And even some mild voice acting for all of them? Sure, it doesn't make the gameplay any better per se, but dang, it makes this game look polished to perfection. The game just feels like a realistic racer without actually being realistic. And that's kind of weird. I cannot put into words how smooth the game truly feels. You have to play it for yourself to understand how much control you have over your car. You learn how to make sharp turns, you learn how to maximize speed. I mean, just overall, this game has aged so well. The smoothness and the graphics, although they're 2 generations old now, they move so fast that you don't even really notice it. And I mean, with all the crap blowing past you, it's just a marvel to see all the racers and all the little details on the screen. The music is also fantastic, with heavy techno beats with that little hard rock undertone. It just adds to the futuristic flavor of the game. F-Zero GX truly defines itself as a completely original racing experience. With all that being said, it gets my KJ rating of Indulge. An Indulge rating means that this game shouldn't only be owned, in my opinion, it should be cherished. It should be enjoyed to death and should be played until the wee hours of the morning. This game is just fantastic. I can't see the reason for another F-Zero game yet, because I'd be damned if they could outdo this one. Although online play would be nice. There was even an arcade port for this game called F-Zero AX, and the two games were supposed to be connected by bringing your memory card to the arcade with you. Now, I've never actually seen one because maybe it's on Canadian or something, but I think that's a kind of cool concept. It's actually always been my dream to play on this, or even own one, which I doubt will ever happen, but that just shows you how much I actually like this game. I want to get the arcade version, which is like $2,000 or $3,000. All in all, if you can find F-Zero GX for sale anywhere, buy it instantly. It is so worth it. I mean, even if you're not a racing fan, this game has that Nintendo quality that just makes it fun for everyone. Thanks for watching. Thank you guys so much for watching my F-Zero GX review. It was a lot of work to put this together. I mean, I have hours of footage and then I got sick in the middle, but it was so much fun to get through it. Thank you guys so much for watching again. And if you want to see one of my older reviews, you got a link up top, and I got Let's Plays right over here to the side. And once I disappear, there'll be a question right here. Leave a comment, like it if you really liked it, subscribe if you want to see more. You know what to do, answer this question that's going to appear right where I am. And I'll see you guys all at the next KevinJ review.